Hello everybody and welcome to another video, another mishmash video. I guess I'm doing too many mishmash videos, like where I just blend a bunch of stuff in together. But today we're going to be talking a little bit about some really old Guild Wars 2 stuff, and that's the footage in the background. I'm going to talk about a new thing that's going on with Guild Wars 2 called the Atlas, and then I'm going to spend a good chunk of the video talking about what's coming up with the channel. I'm a little bit wary about doing channel update videos. I sort of have, people who've been watching me for a while will know just before Guild Wars 2 launched, I did like a channel update thing with all these crazy ideas I had, and it sort of fell through. So I've been wary about it, but I haven't really talked about what I'm doing with the channel with you guys for a while. So I just want to mention a few things that are coming up, because there's been some big gaps on the schedule. There's at least 3 new series that will be beginning of cool stuff that I want to do. So we'll talk about that soon. Let's start off. First of all, what the hell are you guys watching in the background? That's a game called Rytlocks Rampage. I got led to this and inspired to do this as the background footage for today in a really weird way. See, it turns out someone made a side-scrolling RPG that you can play in your browser, as far as I'm aware. I haven't played it myself, called the Gw2 RPG. And it reminded me of this thing, Rytlocks Rampage, which came out quite a while ago. If you guys remember when the first Super Adventure Box was released, they did that crazy advertising campaign where it was the kind of 80s style video game commercial, and there was the guy in the big Rytlocks suit. Well, there was this idea of a fake game called Rytlocks Rampage, which eventually some of the guys over at ArenaNet decided, yeah, let's just make it into a full thing. And you can play this. There will be a link in the description if you guys want to. Warning, I'm going to try and not have it on the footage for too long in the background. I really suck at this game. Like, I only just started playing it, but I don't know, I'm going to blame it on the controls, and I'm going to say it's clunky. But you'll see me dying to cute, fluffy rabbits an awful lot. I did end up completing it. I think it's well worth the play, though. Pretty fun, and I wanted to do like a let's play style thing of it, but it's pretty short anyway. So yeah, Rytlocks Rampage. I'm sure there will be a lot of people out there who had no idea that thing even existed. So that's what you get the pleasure of feasting your eyes on. I will, however, have a little bit of footage of something else, and that's called the Atlas, the Guild Wars 2's Living World Atlas. This is a new feature that came out on the website. It's sort of the big thing with Guild Wars 2 news that's going on this week, and as a lot of you guys know, I have been in communication with ArenaNet a little bit recently. One of the primary reasons for that was because of this new element to the website that they've put out called the Atlas. And it should open up some interesting avenues for content creators like me on YouTube or other people on other websites to give content about Guild Wars 2. And that should be starting now. I'm curious how well it will go and how the community has really reacted to it. Doesn't surprise me that much, but I'll explain it for those of you who are out of the loop. If you go to the Guild Wars 2 website, up on the top left of the bar, there's always been options to go to different areas. Like, for example, the wiki is its own thing, and it's like one of the tabs up there. Another one of the tabs is the release page. One of the tabs is the forums. Okay, this is a new tab that they've added called the Atlas. So think of it as being like a Guild Wars 2 website, but like its own distinct thing. And the way this works is they give you a whole map of the world, or Tyria, the continent at the very least, that we can play in. And all across this area, there are a bunch of waypoints you can click, like these little dots. Every time you click one, you'll usually get an image associated with what's happened during the living story in that area of the world. So for an example, in Divinity's Reach, you've got the Dead End Bar, this place we constantly go back to, the site of Marjorie Delacroix and Casmire's investigations, right? We first saw them there at the Dragon Bash. Well, you can go there on the Atlas, and by clicking any waypoints you find there, it will give you images, concept art, sound effects, trailers even perhaps, content about Guild Wars 2, of stuff that's been going on at the Dead End Bar. And through this, ArenaNet can sort of, in a really patchworky way, tell the story of past Living World releases and tease out future content that's coming out by like tying these waypoints to areas of the world map. I think there are a few problems with it, which I do want to go over. First of all, in my mind, I see the Atlas as doing 2 things primarily. Number one, it's trying to fill that gap the Living World currently has, that people want to be able to experience the past plots, right? There's a huge problem with the Living World as it stands right now, and the Atlas is sort of trying to address that, I feel, by letting players who maybe missed previous content releases go on the Atlas and then, in theory, see all this concept art and read these snippets of information telling them about, say, the fall of Lion's Arch. If you go on there right now, you'll see anytime you click something in Lion's Arch is giving you screenshots and clips and things all to do with that content. So months down the line, people who missed this could potentially then go to the Atlas and be filled in. I don't think it's completely sufficient in this regard. I think there would be way better methods of telling the past story, and certainly I feel this isn't going to appease the crowds who want all of the living world to say be replayable in game. Like, it just doesn't measure up. But I think it is sort of a small step to address the issue, and I'm curious if ArenaNet are going to keep trying to make small steps, or they're going to push out some big feature at some point that addresses it in a really big way. But I think that's one big thing that the Atlas is trying to offer. And the other thing that it's trying to offer is this idea of future stuff, and this being a website for fueling speculation about the game. And in this regard, I think it's much, much better. A lot of the images and things you do see currently on the Atlas, people aren't too interested in because it is old stuff. It's from past releases that, you know, the hardcore players who are most desperate for new information also happen to have been the ones who have absorbed past information a lot already. But there are a few little waypoints that people are genuinely interested in. For example, there's an image on the Lion's Arch area I saw some people speculating about, where you can click it, it shows you an image of a Watchwork soldier with the new backpack on. And in the bottom left-hand corner of this image, you can see there's an icon for the College of Synergetics, the Asuran icon for that. And the question then comes to people's mind, well, why is this here? Is this relevant in some way? Obviously, the College of Synergetics was like a huge factor in Scarlet's story, and it was much more important and prevalent to her, I suppose, than the other two colleges, which she found much easier. But why would this icon suddenly be here on this image? And people are actually asking these questions. You know, you might find a waypoint in a really weird area of the world, click it, and hear a strange sound effect and wonder, what does this have to do with anything? For me specifically, when I was looking at the Atlas before it was properly released, there was a waypoint out in the Brisbane Wildlands. I'm not sure if it's still there, but there was a waypoint out in the Brisbane Wildlands in a really random area. As you guys know, if you've been following the living world, there's really not been much that's happened in Brisbane ever for the living world, and yet there was a waypoint out there and you could click it and it had this odd sound effect. And to me, that immediately made me wonder, what's this hinting at? And I think that's what ArenaNet are trying to go with. For now, it's quite exciting. It just remains to be seen whether there's like a big payoff on the speculation that they're inciting in the community. You know, I found that waypoint with that random sound effect. Does it actually mean anything? Does the weird icon, the college symbol on that Lion's Arch image actually mean anything? If they turn out to mean things, then yes, there's going to be a lot more speculation. I think there is room in the future as well for ArenaNet to add waypoints in really interesting areas of the map, maybe areas of the map that aren't even playable right now, and people will be genuinely excited about it. From my understanding, the Atlas so far as well has not been like fully developed to the best of its abilities. There's kind of like a completionist element of it right now where, oh, if you click all the waypoints, you can get like 100% completion on it, but it's not tied to any accounts of any kind. If you like clear your browser cookies, then it just removes all your progress, and it feels a little bit hollow there, especially considering the gameplay, if this is even gameplay, is simply a matter of clicking waypoints. You know, all it's going to take is one big bombshell of a waypoint slipped in there when one release comes out to really incite a lot of speculation in people. One of the ways that they are trying to make this a little bit more interesting and more of a game rather than just clicking stuff on a map is through this idea of coordinates. And this is where I, as a YouTuber or content creator for the game, come in. Basically, the way that the website is supposed to work, as far as I understand, is you look at it and you see a lot of waypoints. You can move the magnifying glass around to highlight certain areas, and it will tell you whether you've got discovered or undiscovered waypoints to find. And you click them and that's it, right? They're always visible to you. However, there are supposed to be some hidden waypoints in really specific areas of the map that you cannot find unless you have specific coordinates to reach them. While you're on the Atlas, in the top right hand corner of the window, you'll find that there are two different numbers that you can enter in, and these will take you to specific locations. And the idea behind this is that I, Wooden Potatoes on YouTube, can be given coordinates to like some cool piece of content and then hide it in some kind of a scavenger hunt for you guys, and then those of you who figure it out get the waypoints and then get the content. And it's a way of like driving traffic around in a really nice and healthy way, where the audience gets something cool out of it, I get a bit more traffic out of it, even ArenaNet get a little bit more traffic out of it, which is a cool idea. However, as far as I understand, functionally this doesn't work right now. People have been able to unlock like the waypoints even without the coordinates, as far as I understand. I saw a post on Reddit where Dolphy had posted like 9 of the big secrets that are currently on the map, and I don't know whether my coordinates specifically are on that list exist or not, but my hunch says yes, they are. So I will give you guys the coordinates. The content that it leads to for this release isn't like the most mind-blowing thing anyway, so they will be here in the video. If you've watched the video, you will have found them, no worries. And you guys can go and enter those coordinates. If you've not seen the Atlas so far, you can go and have a look. I do think it's got a long way to go to meet like its 2 primary goals, honestly. You guys might notice that with old Living World updates, ArenaNet we'd have a patch, and then on that next Tuesday where there wasn't going to be a patch, we'd have the information for the next one, and they've actually removed that now. All that big information comes out on the day of release, and my thinking here is that Atlas has been created to fill the gap between the two, and this is the day that more stuff will come on and there'll be more speculation and perhaps more hidden waypoints and so forth. But at any rate, I do have some. I would love to give them to you guys, so keep an eye out on the video, and I'm sure you will have found them. If not already, then very soon. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on how the Atlas continues going. Some trivia about it, I guess, because I knew about it before it came out. It used to be that the waypoints were all like associated with the thumper turrets that were on the world, and it was like every time you'd find a thumper turret, then you click it. But because the Atlas has come out at this point, and now the thumper turrets aren't like so prevalent or whatever, I guess, so they just removed that aspect, and that's not going to make sense for future stuff down the line. And it used to have different names as well. I'm sure it wouldn't matter if I told people, but while it was in development, I believe they were calling it the Priory, which was pretty cool. So yeah, that's the Atlas. That's like one of the big things that I've been doing with ArenaNet, and I'll talk about more of that stuff after the next patch goes live. Okay, so that's pretty much it for Guild Wars 2 news. There's some other stuff, like their big long 6 to 7 week one free thing from the gem store every week is still going on. So like this week, I think it's a Trading Post Express or something that you can get. But for the rest of the video, I want to talk to you guys about the channel and what's going to be coming up. Many of you have probably noticed we've been a little bit light on videos recently. That wasn't like really my intention, but basically what am I doing regularly? Let's have a look at it seriously now. I am regularly doing Q&A videos, maybe one a week, and I'm doing videos on patches when they come out, which is one every 2 weeks. It's getting very, very infrequent. I do have a couple of outstanding projects I want to do for Guild Wars 2, like Guild Wars 2 Mysteries. We're still in the middle of doing the origins of the races. There's the big Guild Wars 2 lore series that I want to continue. There's some other like odds and ends that I want to do, but none of this is like regular series. In the past, I've been much better with regular series. I've been, you know, having at least 5 days out of the 7 each week filled up, and that's just been slowly going down and down and down. Those gaps have mostly come from other series like being complete, alright? So when I was uploading Azuric, for example, like that was such a fun game and a really cool series to do, but obviously it's a finite amount of time you can let's play a game. It ended. I was doing Raven at the same time as we were doing Azuric. That's now ended. Basically, I don't have any of like those other let's plays, like non-Guild Wars 2 let's play style stuff coming out, and I do intend fully to put a new one of those coming out. During this week, I did an attempted recording of a game called Deponia with Matt, and we were going to do like another Matt Visual and WP let's play. Deponia is like, I believe it's quite story heavy, and it is pretty good story wise once you get into it, but it's another sort of point and clicky game, much more point and clicky than the Raven was, and it seemed like quite a good fit. It was made by the guys from the Adventure Company, and the main character in Deponia has the same voice actor as one of the main characters in the Raven was Adil, so it was like quite fun. But me and Matt sat down, started recording it, and like for the first half an hour or so of the game we were just faffing about in this house. It just didn't really seem to work very well, so we're probably scrapping the idea of Deponia, but I do very much want to have another series with Matt going on. Over on his channel starting very soon, there will be a series with the both of us. I'm not going to announce exactly what that is, but that's exclusive to his, and at some point there will be another one with me and him. However, for solo Let's Plays, I know some of you guys don't like the collab stuff, for solo Let's Plays, once Final Fantasy X HD comes out, there's a very, 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 very high chance that I will be Let's Playing that for you guys. Some people have been warning me, oh hey, Square Enix, these guys are really fierce with content strikes and stuff like that on YouTube. To be honest with you, I don't really care. If I can't monetize the Final Fantasy X stuff, that's still fine with me. It's like such a big part of my gaming life, honestly. I love that game so much, and I know a lot about that game. I just want to share it with people, and I think it'd be really fun. I had so much fun with Azuric. I'll do that anyway, and if I can't monetize it, I can't monetize it. That's probably something that's going to be happening, and if that does happen, because the two games are bundled together, Final Fantasy X and X-2, I may end up like doing both of them back to back, but we shall see. And that would be a very long series. So that's one of the series that's going to be starting soon. Potentially 2 if we do something with Matt as well. But at the very latest, it's going to be starting like mid-March because that's when the game releases. So aside from that, like the non-Guild Wars 2 stuff, one of the Guild Wars 2 series that ended not too long ago was draft building. This was the series where me and a friend of mine, World of Enders, would go into PvP. We would 1v1, but we would do it in an interesting and quirky way where we roll dice to determine what each other's builds can be, and then we like try and play off of that with a bit of strategy. Very cool game, but once we did all of the professions, we started looking into what else we can do along these lines for Guild Wars 2. And we have developed another game for quite a while. We've been working on this now. We're going to be recording the first episode of that, hopefully, as long as there's like no disaster, this coming Saturday. We don't have a name for the game, but I'd love to share it with you guys, and I'll be explaining it again when the video comes out. The new game isn't a PvP game. The new game is a PvE game. It's still competitive and like you're versing one another, but it's all in PvE, okay? It's like a race, right? I've got a notepad file here that I wrote out a long time ago, and I'm going to read from it to explain to you guys how the new draft building series will work. And it's not going to be called draft building though, because there's no draft anymore. But yeah, so check it out, okay? This is the game we're going to play. Tentatively called Buddy Blitz, which I'm sure is not going to be the real name. Okay, so the game is played, guys, by teams of 2, alright? There's one level 80 character, and there's one level 1 character that gets made when the game begins, right? At first, a dice is rolled that chooses one random boss skill challenge somewhere on the face of Tyria, okay? It's very important that that's a boss skill challenge. So I'm talking about one of the skill challenges where you activate it and you actually have to beat an enemy. Not one of these commune skill challenges. It's one where you've actually got to kill something, right? And to win the game, your team of 2 players has to be the first to reach that skill challenge and complete it, right? So the idea here is that the level 80 character is escorting the level 1 character to the challenge so that it can be activated, and then the level 80 guy actually kills the boss because the other one's too weak because he's level 1, right? That's the idea. Easy enough, right? However, there is a catch. The catch is that the level 80 player starts the game with no gear, then that means armor or weapons, and they start the game with no traits either. And every time the level 1 player earns a skill point, the level 80 can now start equipping his weapons and his armor and filling out his build. There's like slightly more specifics to it, but I'll save you the hassle for now. So the idea here is that it's a race to get to the skill boss challenge, but you have to dedicate time to actually building up and becoming strong enough to get out there and do it, right? And it's like the team with the best strategy, the best way to open up, the best classes and the best routes will be the ones who actually win the race. We've done some testing with it, and it's not the kind of thing where you can just immediately try and rush and have the level 80 player with just one weapon and no armor and no traits try and kill the boss. They just can't do it. So that's going to be really interesting. We're recording our first episode on Saturday. We've had a few trial runs of it. Some of them have ended disastrously, but I think we've worked out most of the tweaks, and I'm really excited about it. It might sound kind of complicated, but when you see it in action, trust me guys, it's not. It's really not. And hopefully you'll see for yourselves. We'll get like at least 1, maybe even 2 videos out of every race we do. So that's 2 of the things that are going to be coming to the channel. There's actually a third one as well, which is already complete and ready to go and will be uploaded today. And that is Crayon Lore. For those of you who don't remember or weren't watching me back then, sometime around summer of last year, I had this idea, started toying with it. I bought myself a tablet, and I even made like a summary video of all of the events of Guild Wars 2 in this weird idea I had called Crayon Lore, which originally was like this funny, kooky thing where I was doing this really bad art for myself, but telling, you know, what I thought were quite cool stories. Well, I'm bringing that series back, except it's not like terrible art anymore, and it's like not meant to be so much on the funny side as it's meant to be very similar to the old Guild Wars 1 summary videos I put up on the channel and people loved so much. Quite recently I've got really into world building and then like watching films and concepting stories and ideas in my head and like really wanting to tell stories. Like this has always been quite a big part of me, but I feel like at some point when I was going through my teenage years I lost my creativity, but I still really want to tell stories, and that was always one of the most fun things I've done for Guild Wars. Guild Wars in particular particular, the main reason why I'm like a Guild Wars YouTuber was because I wanted to share people the story of Tyria, right? And specifically with that old lore series I did with the nice art, it was like there's a certain joy out of just teaching people all of this cool stuff that admittedly I didn't write, but other people did. So Crayon Lore is going to be my way of bringing that back to the channel a little bit. Guild Wars, I've basically told all the stories there are now. It's all very old hat to me. Most questions I ever get about the story I've answered at some point, and I think that's a big reason why at the moment really I'm just doing like patch videos and I'm clinging to new story that they're giving us, right? So sort of to bring that back a little bit into the channel, I've been working on this series called Crayon Lore. The idea is they're going to be very similar to that old Guild Wars 1 summary thing, but for other games and other stories out there. So the one that's going to be coming out today is The Last of Us. I've actually had some help working on it as well from various people. Like one guy helped me to figure out what all the filters and things were, and these people will be getting credited. But one person in particular I've started working with, who originally I approached about it because he'd been writing like a fan story about Liss. He was writing a story called Liss and the Cloud of Desica. He tweeted me about it and I thought it was fantastic. There will be a link in the description if you guys want. I mean, he's actually helping me work on the scripts, like largely doing them, and then I'll sort of go over them and tweak stuff, and then together we've been making these videos. So we've got 2 of them set already. We've already got a good idea of what a lot of the stories are going to be going forward, but it's something you guys can have input on as well. So yeah, that will be coming maybe 10 hours or so after this video that you're currently watching. It'll be the first Crayon Lore, and it'll probably be like a weekly fixture of the series going forward. Each week, currently planned to be on Fridays, there'll be a new Crayon Lore coming out. And yeah, hopefully it'll be really interesting. Hopefully you guys like it. I'm quite proud of what we've already done, and obviously with feedback it should get better and better, but that's been like an itch, and I'm finally glad to be scratching that itch, you know, get back to telling stories and not necessarily be limited by what ArenaNet gives us in the living world. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's everything I wanted to talk about. That's what's going on with the channel. That's what's been going on with Guild Wars 2. Hopefully you like the sound of what's coming up. I've had a lot of questions of people saying, hey, when's your next LP coming? When's this? And when's and there you go. Now you guys know these are my current plans as they stand, and the video pace should be going up pretty quickly, pretty soon as well. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next time, which should be in a few hours for Crayon Lore.